Welcome to the R.E.A.L podcast, where hosts Shane Kilby and Duane Murphy dive deep into the world of real estate agent life. From overcoming hurdles to celebrating success, join us as we explore the journeys of industry veterans and rookies alike. Get ready for bi-weekly episodes packed with advice, feedback, and mentorship from the best in the business.
Welcome to another episode of R.E.A.L podcast, Real Estate Agent Life. My name's Duane Murphy, co-host there with that beaming smile today is Shane Kilby. Look at those dimples just shining. Looks good. We have another amazing guest today. I'm going to let Shane do the intro, but I tell you what, if you want to pick up some nuggets of knowledge, move your brokerage forward, and if you're an agent, learn all kinds of cool stuff. Dr. Ben's your guy.
Yeah, so we do have a distinguished guest. Duane and I happen to know Dr. Ben very well, but to give him his formal props and his formal introduction, we are introducing today's guest, Dr. Ben Spears, a distinguished real estate professional and entrepreneur based out of Tampa, Florida. He is the co-owner of the Brokerpreneur, and where Dr. Spears co-founded the Brokerpreneur as a platform that's dedicated to helping real estate brokers grow their business through insightful podcasts and other resources. He also co-hosts the Brokerpreneur podcast alongside his business partner, Matt Vi. Matt Vi, I pronounced that right? Yeah, I know Matt Vi. And he co-hosts with Ben on the Brokerpreneur podcast, offering valuable insight strategies for real estate brokers and owners. Dr. Ben, as we like to call him, is also a public speaker and a trainer in the real estate space. He actively engages in public speaking and training sessions, sharing his expertise to help others excel in the real estate industry. Dr. Ben is multifaceted, has a multifaceted career and dedication to real estate agents in the real estate community, alike, making him a valuable guest for today's episode. So, welcome, Dr. Ben. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate that intro. That's probably like I felt like my mom wrote that.
You know what? I talked to her, and she's the one that proved it.
She's like, I'm so proud of my baby.
Yeah, she sent me some pictures, and I was going to post them up here, but I figured, maybe next time.
And there's nothing like a mother's love.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, mothers even love ugly babies. Not that I was an ugly baby, but I guess who knows? I don't remember. That's been a minute back. So, Dr. Ben, as we know you, give us a little backstory. So myself and Duane know a lot about you, but we don't know your entire story. So give us your backstory. What did you do before real estate, and how did you end up in real estate?
Yeah, for sure. So I was a chiropractor for 8 years in Kentucky, and I ended up growing a practice there. And my wife, love of my life, he was offered her dream job down here in Tampa. And so I sold my practice there. We moved to Tampa. I had zero sphere of influence. And I moved down here and I was going to open another chiropractic office, obviously. Started looking around. I was like, I don't really want to start, the same business over again, right? Because that was difficult enough. And so I was like, well, what can I do? I had 6 months before my license transferred anyway. So I got my real estate license in that time. And my first day that I could be under contract as a licensed agent, I was. And so from that point on, 4 or 5 weeks after being licensed, I had already had my first closing. I was on my second brokerage. And at that time either, I did not have a great experience in my first one. But I closed around $8 million in volume that year, which is around 30 transactions. It wasn't like I sold like one $8 million property. My average sale price is like $330,000, something like that. I just fell in love with it. And so, from that point on, I just kind of started growing in real estate.
So let me ask you this. So what I heard was you had a racehorse start in the real estate profession, out the chute into a contract to a closing, but it sounded like you went live with your license, wrote a contract, went to the closing table, and left the brokerage that you were in. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, 100%. And so we hadn't even found a home to live in here. We were living in an apartment trying to get an idea of where we wanted to live in Tampa. And in that apartment complex, I was at the pool and I was like grilling some hot dogs. this little kid comes over and he's like, "Can I have a hot dog?" And you guys know me. I'm like, "Of course, you can have 10 hot dogs, whatever you want." And so, I look for his parents and they're like, I was like, "Can he have a hot dog?" And I said, "Yeah." So I gave him one. And turns out, we kind of became friends with them, still friends with them to this day. And they were like, I was like, "I'm going to get my real estate license." They're like, "Well, we're looking for a home. Let's do that." And so literally it was the next week, like everything was official. I showed them one property, and we wrote an offer that day. My first property ever, my first showing ever. I no joke, had issues like figuring out Supra, right? The Super key, even trying to get in. So that's how new I was. And yeah, I was with the brokerage I was with for 2 weeks. I didn't get a tremendous amount of support that I was looking for. Now I won't name names or anything like that, but the broker or the listing agent on the home that I wrote the offer on was a broker. He kept in touch with me and recruited me, and I was there for a long time, and he's awesome guy, still friends with him, and would recommend him to anybody.
The old co-broke recruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. So I'm going to go off script a little bit and just going into that story. So, and two things that really kind of stuck out to me on that is in the intro, you've been in real estate or related with real estate, had your license now, right, for 9 years?
Yep, about 9 years.
So if I try to use my fingers to do the math, that'd be like 2016?
Yeah, 2016, 2017, that kind of thing. It was
2017 when you got your license, got into the business. You said in that first year you sold 30 homes.
Yeah, mostly buyer side, obviously, because I was a newer agent. But yeah,
newer agent.
30
transactions. And so two things on that. We'll hold on to that 2016 date, being a new agent. Did you join a team or were you an independent agent?
Yeah, I was an independent agent. I had a friend who was a real estate agent in Kentucky, and he's like, "Man, I think you'd be great at this." It's part of the reason I kind of got into it. And he's like, "Man, I think you'd be great at this if you ever decided, to switch professions." So I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." And so I just joined the same essentially brand that he was part of, because I didn't know anything about it. And I was through the test, or through the class, through the test in no time. Right, I had learned how to study and take tests in the 9 years of school that I had taken, before then. And so I was, kind of blazed through that. But the that time frame, that all matches up. But I ended up at that brand, and
but with that, because we have a variety of listeners, but we have people that own businesses, own brokerages, a multitude of companies, all the way to the brand new agent or someone even looking to get their license, right? They're tuning in and trying to pick up nuggets and going, okay, is real estate the career I want? Is real estate the profession I want? Is that the path I want in order to create another life for my family? I'm still going back to this 2016. I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I can remember time moments in the market. And oh, by the way, in 2016, like the real estate market wasn't on fire. We're not talking like it was 2021, right? The biggest year ever in real estate, residential sales. I mean, we're talking 2016. It's on the upside of the recovery from the Great Recession and from the housing correction, but nothing completely unconscious. You're coming into a brand new market, no sphere, don't know anyone.
I didn't know anybody.
In a brand new profession that you had, I mean, you have transferable skills because, right, you got to smile and like people, but not really a career that would be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense to go straight into real estate from chiropractic. To do 30 sales as an individual agent, no team. How did you do 30 sales, and what can you share with our listeners going, how do you sell 30 homes in the first? I sold 21 homes in my first year in a brand new market knowing no one. And now you just told me you did 30 and I'm just going, wow, I thought mine was cool. Mine was nothing compared to 30.
Nah, yours is cool too, man. It's Shane's it wasn't cool.
Everybody's story's cool. I'm going to stop right there. I just caught myself. Carry on.
Yeah. So with that being said, how to do the second broker that I was with, he was a tremendous listing agent, right? So he's a competing broker, but always there to help the agents, that kind of thing. That being said, he always carried like 15, 16, 17 listings at any time. And so, for me, I just said, okay, well, I'm not putting a tremendous amount of money into this because I'm essentially going to be a chiropractor in 6 months, right? So what can I do for free to generate business? And so I said, can I do open houses for you? And I would do an open house every Saturday. I'd do an open house every Sunday from his listings. And he offered this to all the agents. It wasn't like something special to me. But what happened, and I would sometimes do them even through the week, but what I would do, and then, I got this from something online. It wasn't something, that I came up with, but I would put out anywhere from 60 to 100 open house signs per open house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what I would do is I would go to Target, and I would go to Walmart, and I would go to Publix, and I would go to any place where there was traffic, and I would put my first sign out. Open house this way, right? With an arrow and my name on it and that kind of thing. And then I would sign from there to my open house. Sometimes it'd be like 4 or 5 miles of signs. But then when you got to the neighborhood of my open house, I had 10 to 20 in one direction about every 4 steps. And then I had 10 to 20 in the other direction every 4 steps. You can imagine how fun this was in the rain, because it rains every day here in the summer in Florida. But so I would have anywhere from 60 to 100 open house signs. And, I kind of got known for that. And of course, sometimes they just get picked up and stolen or whatever. And it's just cost of doing business. But doing that, and then kind of working on my vocabulary and my conversations that I was having inside of those open houses, that was invaluable, because as people would come in, they'd be asking me questions. I'd be like, well, I don't know the answer to that, right? But I would go to my broker and I would say, I'll go to the listing agent. I'll make sure I get that answered for you. And I would say, what's the answer to this question? What's the answer to this question? What's the answer to this question? And I would just kind of catalog all those things in my head. And then by the time all that was said and done with, right, I had a wonderful open house platform that I had kind of built on how to generate a tremendous amount of traffic to the open house. And then when they got there, I knew exactly the conversations that I was going to have. I knew as they were walking through the house, whatever room they were walking in, I knew what conversation I was going to start with them walking into that room and coming out of it. Everything was done with a purpose. And then as soon as they would leave, and this is so valuable, this isn't what you were asking me for, but this is some nuggets for some ever a realtor out there asking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. As soon as they would leave, I'd grab my phone and I would pick it up. And before they got to the car, this was like a challenge that I had for myself. I'd pick up my phone and I would say, hey, Shane, I'm so glad that you came by the open house today. Just wanted to let you know that I am super grateful that you took your time to spend some time with me viewing this property. If this property is the one for you, gosh, I'd love to be the one that helps you get it. But if it's not, that's okay too. I can bring the keys to another one. Right. If there's anything I can ever do for you or anybody that I'd really appreciate that. And hope you have a great rest of your day. And I would send that. And that got me so much business because it was personalized to them, and it was before they got to the car. Right. And I got listings from that, like people just saying, listen, I can tell you know how to market a property. Right.
Yeah. So that's, when this episode comes out, my agents that listen to this are going to say, you three rehearsed that and scripted that. It's funny you say that, because that's something I stay on a soapbox about just in our brokerage and in our classes and stuff like that, because it's so, our brokerage has been open 12 years now, and we've never done print advertising. Now we've done postcards, but never like newsprint stuff like that, just because we couldn't quantify it. And we've always done social media stuff and the videos and the closing photos and stuff like that. But over the years, it's, went through the order taking cycles, like agents have not had to market themselves. And so now the market has gobbled up and spit out a lot of agents. And the agents that hung around are having to become in those areas of marketing themselves. And so I shared with some agents this morning. I said, I sent it to them. I said, look, I know you guys think that I'm just trying to drive this down your throat to make you do it. I said, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you do it or not. I'm just going to give you some current statistics. And these were NAR statistics. And those statistics were that 73 agents who use video in their day-to-day marketing practices convert 73% better their buyers and sellers.
Absolutely.
Than without it. For the listing agents out there, it also had the statistic that agents who use video and social media on their listings get 403% more views and exposure than without using video every week in their business practice. I was like, I could not help but share that. This is also funny too, because we used to do, and I say used to because the market just exploded, and it was like, we don't have time for this. There was a time where open house, what a joke, like it won't be here. Like you'll market it and be like, no, we canceled it because it sold. But we used to do what we call it extreme open houses. And we didn't put that many because everybody thought I was obnoxious. But now you just took it to another level. But we would use, now this is what we'd use anywhere from 25 to 50. open house signs, and I had them printed up in the the construction caution yellow,
Oh, nice.
right, and just black, the black text on it because it really popped and it you know. For all the right reasons, wasn't trying to cause chaos, but it drew a lot of attention. Like, what's going on over here? Yellow and black signs are everywhere. And when we turned into the street or the subdivision, then we would use the big 10-foot tall wind flags.
Yeah, I have those. I had those too.
Yeah, and then in the driveway, we would put up an easy up tent and have a little small grill, and we'd do the hot dog, but we would do hot dogs out there in bottled water, whatever. And so we'd have an agent in the driveway, mingling. We'd have an agent or two inside, for giving the tour of the home and answering all the questions. And then, of course, if there was a nice enough area where we had a couple of even if they weren't our listings, we would get other agents from other companies and say, hey, we're going to do open house. Why don't you guys do it? And one of us would do the hot dog, one of us would do a dessert or something like that, afterwards, and we'll send them down your way and vice versa. So it's funny you say that because in our office, I bet we still have 400, 500 of those, caution. They look like caution signs.
Yeah.
The part with all that, right? And I had made almost the majority of my business in my first year, right? And I joined during the crash. Like, I got my real estate license, and I apologize to everybody that lost their home and lost their job and lost all their money, because I feel like I personally caused the housing collapse of 2008 because I got my license like 4 months earlier, and then literally like the market crashed. And I'll take blame for that.
I think you were in the movie.
Yeah. So
he had hair then, though.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. But I did right in the middle of the crash when you couldn't give homes away. I mean, it was open houses, right? And I always heard, with open houses, much like, right, working full-time, opportunity time, taking opportunities, taking leads, right? It's like, I can remember a mentor way back in the day, Marge Stammer, and she said, Duane, she goes, because I'd be like, man, I just had this open house. I just had 4 open houses. I didn't have anybody show up, right? Man, I only had 1 show up, right? And she'd be like, Duane, open houses and sitting there on that opportunity time and taking those shifts and doing those types of things is just like playing a slot machine. She goes, you just never know which quarter is going to pay off. She goes, and sometimes you got to just keep feeding it. But sooner or later, you're going to pull that handle and it's going to spit out payday. She goes, and you're going to land buyers, you're going to land sellers. And she was true. And what I find on this, and we got a little off subject, but yet it's still a great subject.
Mm-hmm.
Open houses today, especially with the change in buyer agency and so many buyers, like, do I commit to one agent on a buyer agency? Do I got to sign forms now in order to go see a house and have a written piece of paper? And I don't know if I want to commit to an agent yet. So, right, we're seeing, at least in our market, we're seeing the open house traffic just soar because, right, there's no commitment, right? It's like, right, there's no strings attached. Come see the home. It's where I'm seeing open house traffic, even though home sales are moderate. Open house traffic is through the roof because there's no commitment there. But yet I also see the majority of agents today, right? And I'm not a bash on today's agent. The majority of them aren't taking advantage of any of those of the open house possibilities, right? The extreme open house we had, right? We did the brats and hot dogs. And
Mm-hmm.
I can remember having a suitcase I dragged. I did 5 open houses every weekend, right? I try to do 2 on Saturdays. I do 3 on Sundays, running between homes. I'd run in the house, turn on the oven quick, right? To run around, turn on all the lights, light a couple candles, right? Try to spray some potpourri to try to make it smell good because you never knew what the hell you're going to run into. Right. And then I'd bake some cookies quick. So the cookies be coming out when the first person came through the door. By the way, just a note for anybody, check the oven before you turn on someone else's oven. I may or may not have melted dishes and one time started pre-cooking a roast for someone.
But part of that too is I don't think you got to think about the agents. There's tons and tons of awesome agents and that are way more experienced than I am, way more successful. I learn from them every day. But we have a lot of agents that have been in the business since 2020. We're in 2025. So been in the business 4, 5, 6 years, and they don't know how to do them. They didn't have to know how to properly do them. And let's face it, like in every office, there's an agent that says that don't work, that doesn't work. I tried that doesn't work, that doesn't work. And I've always been like, So tell me more. So explain to me how you verified you proved that theory to not be effective. Like, was it the system that didn't work, or was it you didn't work the system? And it's always the agent that didn't properly do it and didn't properly do it consistently long enough to get those results. So one thing, I mean, so on that topic, like everybody here in our market wanted to do them on Sunday afternoons. Well, we just flipped the script. We said, okay, when is the bulk of people out and about in nice subdivisions? Saturday mornings, garage sales, yard sales. So we flipped the script and we started doing our open houses from 9 to 11 on Saturday morning. So once we, canvassed the neighborhoods and let everybody know that, hey, we're going to be doing open house, and oh yeah, we got a garage sale going. It'll be great. All of the folks coming through for the garage sales were naturally coming to get a hot dog, whatever. Did some of these people buy those houses? Maybe, maybe not. I can't remember, but they got the word out and it got traction and it got traffic. And you know what? If we were still working at 1 or 2 o'clock on Saturday on open house, we were working with clients, new clients, fresh business. Otherwise, we were catching ball games Saturday night and still had our Sunday. But so we just changed it up a little bit. We used to do those three weeks a month, like clockwork, and it was great. Ben, let me ask you this. And as you can tell, like we're all talkers. We have all been successful in sales because we completely left the script, ladies and gentlemen. But I hope that we brought you some value.
I like that.
It's mad lib around here all the time. When you first started with this brokerage, I clamped on to something right there because you said, I went in and I had early traction and I did not get the assistance, the help that I needed to be successful. And my wheels got to turn there because of what you guys have built in the brokerpreneur. Is that when this was a conversation between you and Matt, was that part of what fueled that? Is because you realized that there needed to be more of a community, even if it was for leadership, so that leadership could better influence the agents, or was that a different thought process?
Not to interject on that, but I want to quick. Can you explain? Because not everybody doesn't have a personal relationship with brokerpreneur and know what it is or understand what it is. So could we, before you go into like why you created it and the questions that Shane had on that, which are phenomenal, but can you explain what that is? How we came into contact with you and what is this, right? Brokers Open podcast, to see it behind you, and brokerpreneur. For our listeners, what is that?
Yeah, for sure. And so brokerpreneur, I'll give you kind of a little bit of a rundown, right? So as I was an agent at the last brokerage that I was with, Matt, my business partner, was one of the brokers there, right? So he was like a manager over several different brokerages. I had like an actual just single broker at the office I was at, but Matt was kind of over all those brokers. And, the more I would talk to him, I was like, man, this guy is like a genius when it comes to growing real estate brokerages. And at the same time, like all the agents like in his office would just crush it. Right. And so I was like, I'm just going to pick this guy's brain as much as I possibly can. So that's just how my brain works. I'm a learner. And so I spent so much time with him. And I was like, man, you got too much information in your head to be just keeping this inside like this one company. Right. And because you guys know, like you can just say anything about real estate and Matt can just like, and it's super smart and super intelligent. And it seems as though like he knew the question was coming. Right. And so I was like, let's do a podcast. He's like, no, I don't want to do a podcast. All right, what's the podcast? Okay, let's do a podcast. No. So eventually I was like, okay, let's do a podcast. He's like, all right, I'll do a podcast, right? And with some expletives, but but not many. And so we started doing brokerpreneur podcast. At the time, it was we didn't know the name of it. We didn't have a name for it. And I just said, man, this needs to be something sexy. And it was going to be all about how to grow brokerages with through recruiting and that kind of thing. So the podcast actually started as Sexy Real Estate Recruiting Podcast, right? And it was only audio and it's kind of funny and that kind of thing. And we had some great conversations there. Those aren't even on, but man, I'm going to go back to the audio.
We're going to have to find the archives.
Right. And so it was like the first 100 episodes, but we coined the term on that podcast, brokerpreneur. That's kind of like this is for people who are brokers, but are also entrepreneurs. And so we coined brokerpreneur. Then it just became the name of the podcast and the company that we have moving forward. And we had no intentions of starting a company. But our listeners were like, man, this is really good. Like, what else you got? And we're like, we don't have anything else. So we started a group. Right. And then it was like, okay, this group is awesome and we love everybody. And what else you got? And it was like, we don't have anything else. So it was like, okay, so well, let's have some tech. So we started, we messed with just some different platforms, throughout, but to where we finally, finished on an amazing recruiting platform that we have called the Brokerpreneur Hub, but it's all centered around the community. Right. And so we are not a tech company that says like, hey, here's some tech, go figure out how to use it and see you later. Right. We are very much hands-on, more of a community of like, hey, let's grow our real estate brokerages together. By the way, we happen to have some amazing tech that will support that. Right. And so the reason that is because Matt said, brokers and agents both, and we have agent facing sides of all this as well. And that's prime real estate coaching. But he's like, he's like, throughout all my experience with growing a brokerage or growing a real estate business, it was, here's some stuff, go learn how to use it. And it was like, go get them Tiger. And so he said, if we're going to do this, we're just going to have amazing support. And I'm like, I'm right there with you, right? Because I did that with, with my chiropractic office. I did that with my real estate clients. And I'm even getting texts from brokerpreneurs as we're sitting here asking questions. And I'm going to get to those as soon as I
That one wasn't me. That one wasn't me.
Yeah.
I had it timed. It was supposed to go off after we were.
Okay, gotcha. I appreciate that. It's time zones or something. But with that being said, so that's what Brokerpreneur is. We're a community of real estate broker owners who are entrepreneurial faced and focused. And we have, amazing tech that allows for recruiting, retention, agent productivity. And if you're an agent, right, we do have prime real estate coaching. We have a prime hub as well. It's going to help you grow your business, generate leads, do all those things as well. But I'm imagining links will be in the description below, and if not, it's okay.
Well, and full disclosure too. So and I don't even know if you know this, Ben, but full disclosure for all the listeners and viewers now and later on, like this isn't the sponsored podcast. They didn't pay for, we didn't get a free, service or any of that stuff. Like,
Wait, Dr. Ben said he paid you.
Yeah, well, the check did not clear, so let's work on that. The check did not clear, but in all honesty, like we've been working together now for a couple of years, and it's just I believe wholeheartedly in leading with value and give it all away, and if you can make a positive impact on someone else's life, that's great. Good things. The rest takes care of itself. Do what you need to do when you need to do it, and the rest will take care of itself. That being said, I'm not gonna lie, like Duane and I send stuff back and forth to each other, ideas and stuff like that all the time. And it was in a conversation that Duane said, hey, I've been, listening to this podcast, check it out. There's pretty good stuff on there. And so I did, I started listening to it every day, working out or whatever, drive time. And every episode, all the way back to when you guys were in COVID and each other's house or whatever. Yes. And I was like, yeah. I remember the conversations about sexy broker open podcastpreneur thing or something. I'm like, what is this? This is kind of sketch. What has Duane sent me? It's funny because, you guys live by that principle too. Lead with value, give. And, if I can help you in other ways, fine. Like, if not, still take the value and run with it. Because it was probably a year, 9 months to a year, just consuming the podcast and taking nuggets of value away and implementing those into my day-to-day business. A lot of the stuff it was things that I already knew that I'd gotten away from. We've talked about this in other episodes, is getting away from those core basics and making things way more complicated and complex than it needed to be. But I say that to say this, it's because of that podcast and because of you guys giving so much. It's like, I'm like, okay, if these guys are gonna give all this knowledge and how to away, then let me see what these guys are like working hand in hand. So that's how we got to the relationship that we are today. But Ben brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise, and he's a pretty good comedian. I don't know if he could make a living at it, but my wife says he tells funny jokes, and that's right. Just Ben. So right. Let me ask you this, though. So, you may have already defined this because you guys have had some really good success in helping brokers and agents and leadership in general to be more successful in real estate. What would you say to this point has been your biggest success in business?
Yeah, so that's an easy question. It's the people, right? And so from a success standpoint, right, you can look at dollar amounts, you can look at, the sizes of companies. And I've started and sold, multiple companies, but there's not been one company that I've worked with or started or been part of where, gosh, I just didn't love the people that I was working with. And then in turn, the same thing as as we build community, right? Because everything we do is based around community. And that's why value is so important, just like you were talking about. I don't know that you can provide value without having some sense of community. That's a different conversation, a different day. But it's the people, right? The relationships and everybody that I've been able to come in contact with, and then as a result, those people introduced me because birds of a feather flock together. Those people introduced me, just like Shane was introduced to us by Duane, right? Like the network and the community and the relationships in a way of someone saying, hey, like this is cool, come check this out. Hey, you need to meet this person because there's a lot of like synergy between what you do and they do. Check this out. And I know for a fact, like Dwayne's not going to send me like to somebody that is not going to be a good fit, or somebody who's going to be a jerk. And Shane wouldn't do the same either, and neither would Courtney, and neither would Dee Dee. And none of those people kind of in that ecosphere would do that. And so for me, it's like, yes, I'm surrounded by amazing people who do amazing things, and I just get to be part of that win, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I will attest to that. Like the level of service that you guys have always been like. I mean, there's times I have been the one had the question. I'm like, man, I do not need to text him this question on Friday afternoon at 6:45 p.m. Central Time, and he's in the East Coast time zone at 7:30. One, is rude of me, but two, I know he's about to call me. So it's 7 o'clock on a Friday night my time, and it's been a question, and I've texted, and I would say, don't call me. You don't have to call me right now. I'd be like, 15 minutes later, they didn't call. Say, hey, let's dive into this. To me, that is somebody that knows what it takes in this business, and the hurdles and the obstacles that are in fact in our paths a lot of days. Brokers, entrepreneurs, real estate leaders, team leaders, agents too. Like we all came in this business for the same reason. We wanted to build some type of freedom through real estate. None of us came into real estate to be Elon Musk or to be any type of tech team in the back room, putting all these technologies together and then making them all work. And then when you're 40, 50 ages deep, then you're the one that they're always calling. Right. So that means a lot. That means a lot. And that's not something that's been on again, off again. Like that wasn't in the first 30-day trial period. It's like, to this day, it's the same level of service with these guys. Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. The support is kind of like missing sometimes in a lot of companies. And that's kind of like the foundation of what we have. Our brokerpreneurs, they get our cell phones, right? They have our mobile numbers, and we don't want to hide behind some tech support you know, tech support, third party, anything like that. Like if you have an issue, we have masterminds every day from 12 to 1. Like if there's anything that somebody wants to come and talk to us, man, they get us. We're the owners of the company, and we just want to make sure everybody wins, and that's how we all win together.
5 days a week they're there, like clockwork.
In a moment of transparency, vulnerability, what would you deem your biggest failure in business?
Yeah, my biggest failure, that's probably not understanding like what my strengths are, right? Like and trying to do everything, right? Like a combination of those two. So you guys know, like Matt is visionary, big ideas guy, that kind of thing. I used to think that I was that guy. I was like, oh, I'm visionary, I'm leading this, I've owned these companies and that kind of thing. And I can have big picture conversations and that kind of thing, but I'm not really going to look at a group of tools and say, well, here are all the things that we can do with these tools or these skill sets, right? That's not my jam. But one thing that I'm amazing at is if someone comes to me and says, hey, I got an idea and I'm thinking this and I have no idea how to do it, then I'm like, okay, well, I'll go learn how to do that. Right. And so, because I just enjoy learning, like I love learning about anything and everything, and it doesn't matter what it is. But it's realizing that I'm not the ideas guy. I am very much the guy who partners with people who have amazing ideas and help bring those across the finish line, because I'm willing to do anything to learn how to do it.
Yeah. So you've been able to take that as almost a success and as a huge launching board, because right, realizing to stick in those same words, right? Am I a visionary or am I an integrator?
Mm-hmm.
And truly learning, right? Visionaries are sexy. It's just to stay in that terminology. Like, everybody wants to be a visionary, right? But if anybody who knows anything knows it's the integrators that get this shit done. Right. I mean, it truly is. I mean, because the visionaries can run themselves in circles chasing all these ideas and all this stuff, but it's the integrators that get stuff done and move everything truly forward, right? And a good integrator, right, is also the one that will grab a hold of that visionary occasionally, right, and be like, wait, like we've got these 10 things to do before we hit the next 10.
Yeah. Yeah, 1%. And so, Matt's really good at like spinning like a million plates, right? A million plates spinning at the same time, and he can just do that, right? My brain doesn't work like that, right? I'm extremely, like to a fault, very singular focused, right? If I'm working on something, don't ask me to work on anything else until I've finished this one thing. But when I get done with that thing, it's gonna be a thing, right? That thing is gonna be a thing, and so I'm not gonna be like halfway and this and that. So yeah, 100%. The visionaries are necessary. Like, where's the company going to go, right? Using Gino Wickman traction, like you're talking about the integrator. At that integrator, it's kind of like, well, how are we going to get there? And so, but yeah, I used to try and do both. I think a lot of business owners try and do both, right? It's almost kind of like being sales and delivery, inside of a company. And it's like, no, like you can't be sales and delivery for long anyway. And you have to realize, like, this is your role, this is what you're good at, and it may not be what you thought it was, but gosh, like, work, business, and everything scales so much faster when everybody's sitting in the right seat and everybody's really bought into, well, yeah, that is my seat, and I have a good time. I'm smiling all the time because I'm going to work doing what I'm supposed to be doing every single day, instead of trying to be something that I'm not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how great a bus you have and what a great destination you're headed towards. If you have the wrong butts in the wrong seat, it's like you're never going to get there. And I mean, you may have the right people on the bus in the wrong seats. It may work absolutely perfect with the same people on the bus, but they may be in the wrong seats. And that's something that's, I think, and this is talking about faults. Like, I think a lot of times I know me, I have too many times tried to make people's strengths mold into other things to do other, because we're used to, as entrepreneur, we're used to juggling a lot of things and seeing a lot of things and just managing a lot of those systems, processes, and thoughts, typically in a decisive manner, even if we don't express those out loud, processing them in our head. And I think a lot of times for me, I've tried to take someone that was great at this and try to, like, I don't need a whole one of these. Can you just be great at this thing, this couple other tasks? And it's like, that has always worked against me. And I've learned it over the last 20 years, but it's not been easy, because I'm like, well, why can't everybody manage 6 different job descriptions instead of one? And I'm like, now I know, I'm like, that's why it takes you 6 times as long to finish one project, because you're working on 16 different projects. So that's a detriment to me. But getting there, you live and you learn. So let me ask you this, going in a different direction from failure and success in business. We all have an influence in life and business. Sometimes it's relatives, friends, family members. Sometimes it's people, places, different things. What would you say has been your greatest influence in life and in business?
Gosh, that's a loaded question for sure. I would just go back, and I would say, like, my mom and my dad. Like, I had amazing I have amazing parents, right? And if I could give grace to the Lord above, right? I'm for sure going to say that's an amazing influence in my life as well. But my parents, I was an only child, right? So I got a tremendous amount of attention. That's part of the reason that I'm crazy like I am. But my parents were just amazing, and they were both extremely hard workers, advanced very, very, very well in the fields that they chose, despite, only having, high school diplomas, that kind of thing. And they showed me, like, this is what hard work's all about. And this is how, if you do what needs to be done, we've all heard, like, hard now, easy later, easy now, hard later. It's very, very, very much, kind of put that into my path. But the same thing's like, if I'm 14 and I'm out and I'm washing my dad's truck, and I miss a spot, well, guess what? I got to wash that whole truck all over again. Right? I can't just fix that spot, right? And so, he really taught me, okay, well, this is how you do the work, and you take a lot of pride in what you do, and your finished product needs to be something that you are like, you're excited to show somebody else. On the flip side, my mom, she can talk to anybody. Right. And she has, I very much get my personality from her. She's friends with literally everybody that she meets, but she showed me the compassion that, you should give to people. Right. She's that person that, my mom actually, it's kind of like a weird conversation, but my mom actually lost her finger. It had since been reattached. Lost her finger because she pulled over on the side of the road to help this elderly couple change a flat tire. Right. And for those of you who know, my mom's 4'11" and like weighs like not like she's, I don't even know if she knows how to change flat tire, but she's not going to go past, wow, those people really need my help. And so everybody in my community knows who she is because of her acts, not just because of any other reason. And so those two are just amazing influencers inside my life, and I would not be even remotely the person that I am today if it wasn't for the two of them.
We hear that a lot. We hear that a lot, and that is absolutely amazing. A lot of the guests we have on here attribute a lot of their success, directly from moms, dad, grandparents, discipline, stuff like that, and that empathy and compassion, very, very important, and it shows. Like the length of time that I've known you, it shows. Like I have definitely given you enough tests to prove that fact, and we've become really good friends because of it. Because in my world, I mean, I know how brutal it can be, day in and day out, 12 hours, 18 hours a day. You know what? And every person that needs me or needs something from me, they're just one person, one need. I don't have a right to be fractious or in a bad mood because that happens to be the 18th fire I put out today. That individual asked for one fire, one need. That's all they asked for. So, I've put a lot of fires and a lot of needs in your lap. So I definitely appreciate that. But it does show through that you had some good raising.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You can, without a doubt, just hit on that as well. I mean, you can feel the love and all that they've meant to you, and what your dad and what your mom mean to you. I mean, in the story you shared and just giving that little bit of testimonial, you can mop up every bit of that, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing.
That's the sincerity is there for sure. So let's see, what's one thing, if you could go back in time, right, or tell yourself, right? So go back in time and tell yourself, something that you wish somebody would have told you, right? Or possibly someone that's on the same journey right now, right? And you're like a little bird on their shoulder, and you're going to whisper something in their ear and share something that you wish somebody would have told you. What would that be?
Yeah, trust your gut, right? Trust your gut, because again, I've had a lot of influential people in my life, and they've in good ways and other ways. Never in business, right? In business, I've always had amazing things. But like for example, when I decided to go from chiropractic to real estate, right? Like you can imagine the conversations that I was having of like, what? Why would you do that? And that kind of thing. And that was just, that was a chapter that chapter was written. It was time to move on to the next chapter. And I trusted my gut. And I said, no, this feels right. Like this feels good. I like this. I like where this is going. It just feels good. And just know that you can always change, right? You can always change. That's part of that gut. And so if there's something that you're like, man, like I've always wanted to do this, or I've always wanted to do that, then do that, right? Like if you're miserable, don't do that. But if you're not, and you're like, this would make me happy, then do that. And so that's probably the biggest thing that I would tell everybody is just, trust your gut, because for me, it was a very long time that I really questioned, like, what is it that I should be doing? And I let mothers, fathers, teachers, preachers, all those, whatever they call them, I let all those people in that sphere of influence be like, no, this is the path. This is the path. This is the path. Stay on that path. This is the path. And that's great. And that took me, I have a tremendous amount of, a great skill set and a tremendous amount of knowledge from that path that I took. But at the same time, it was like, well, gosh, where would I be if I did this 20 years earlier, right? And not necessarily real estate, but anything, right? Like, where would I be if I started working out 20 years ago? You know what I mean? Like those types of things. And so just don't let those outside influencers, right? Take everything with a grain of salt, and say, okay, that's cool, but this is the direction I really feel like I want to go. And then just go that way, right? Just go that way.
That's such phenomenal advice because, like you
Yeah.
said, what's the worst thing that could happen, right? It doesn't work out, and you can go back to being miserable. Like I don't know, what's the worst that can happen? Like, it works out, and you all of a sudden love life and love the path and enjoy what's going on, right? Or it doesn't work out, and congrats, you can go back to being miserable. It's like you're not going to be more miserable. You're going to just go back to you're miserable you were before, right? So that's rock star. I like that.
Yeah, for example, starting my chiropractic practice in 2009, right? Like with zero patients and taking out a loan to do that, right? Like there's a lot of like, man, you shouldn't be doing this, right? Everything's crashing, right? Crashing around us right now. And I'm like, no, like I want to help these people. I want to do these things. And so, you just yeah, it's just pretty cool. Like looking back, these are great questions. Looking back, there's a lot of lessons learned along the way, the easy way and the hard way.
Yeah, making mistakes has a way if you pay close enough attention, it has lifelong value in the lessons that you take away from that. So Ben, in respect of your time and not to go over too long here, for all of the listeners out there that are listening and consuming this podcast and content on a later date and time, if anyone here wants to get more information about Brokerpreneur or just reach out to Dr. Ben and just connect with you, how would they go about that?
Yeah, that's super easy. Just send me an email. It's ben@prospectboomerang.com. Ben@prospectboomerang.com.
Any social handles?
Right? Yeah. I mean, you can follow Brokerpreneur Podcast and check us out on our YouTube channel. We had Brokerpreneur Podcast or Prime Real Estate Coaching, you name it. We're all over those places. But I'm very much a one-to-one type person. So if you guys want to connect with me personally, you can leave comments and all those kind of things, those places, or send me a DM. But you want to talk to me, Ben at Prospect Boomerang is the best way to do it.
That's awesome. So that'll put it into put a bow on it, as Dr. Ben says all the time on his episodes. We'll put a bow on it with that right there. But in the meantime, folks, if you found value in this whatsoever, please do us a huge favor and give us a 5-star review on this podcast and give us that thumbs up, like it, and share it. And if you don't mind, subscribe. And until next time, we will see you soon. Take care.
Peace.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the R.E.A.L. podcast. Don't forget to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more exclusive content. Keep striving for success, and we'll see you in the next episode.